And I want to just talk about the budget in this context and say that I think that I'm proud of the budget. You know, there's a lot of people who criticize it. Is it perfect? Is it everything we'd want? Well, of course not. I don't think there is such a budget that could be everything everybody wanted and satisfy everybody. I think what it has achieved, and the reason I'm proud of it, is because it strikes a balance between investing in people and in the city, and at the same time respects the fact that property taxpayers alone cannot and should not bear the full brunt of financing every social or physical investment that we recognize we might like to make in our city. It's just not possible. It's not feasible. Many of these people cannot afford to bear on their property tax bill, or frankly on any bill coming from the city, those things on their own. And that is why I've been spending so much time, I think, as you know, and I do it because it is an important part of my job and something I said I would do when I was seeking the job, so much time advocating to the other governments who have to partner with us on an even greater basis than they are today from the revenue streams they have, which grow with the economy, which ours, by and large, do not. And it is why I welcome, and I won't spend a lot of time because lots of others have, I enthusiastically welcome the debate and the discussion we're going to have starting right after this budget is over. And Mr. Wallace, our city manager, knows that I have asked that we begin that discussion with the data in place that he's able to produce for us as soon after this budget is approved as possible, because then we'll have lots of time to have it and lots of time to make decisions that we're going to make on both revenues and expenditures well in advance of the 2017 budget process. And so I welcome that discussion, but I've said all the way along, and I direct the comment in particular to my friend Councillor Perks, who's here, that, you know, he said, well, we need to have a serious, I think, adult conversation was the expression he used about revenues. And I pointed out that I made that invitation, at least in terms of my own participation and wanting to lead that discussion, in the speech I made announcing that I would bring forward this proposal for a city building fund and for a modest levy. But I said that was only a first step and that we had to have other discussions as to how we financed these billions of dollars of unfinanced projects and things that we have to do going forward. But I also have said, concurrently with that, that the discussion has to include as well the question of expenditures. And it's not so much looking to cut them as it is looking to review them and looking to make sure that the expenditures we are presently making, even up to and including in the 2016 budget, are monies that are being spent in the best way possible to achieve the greatest possible return for the people we serve. And, you know, the sort of value for money question. And it doesn't matter really how many times we review those things. Councillor Menon Wong is right. I've run a big organization, not quite as big as this, but close. And I can assure you, every single day, there are opportunities to do things better and to do things differently, and whether it's technology that tells you that, or common sense, or somebody with an idea. And so the notion you ever give up on trying to find more efficient ways to do things is just not something that's in my DNA. It's also why I think the collective bargaining discussions we're having right now represent a very important intersection between those discussions and reality. Because the reality, as much as was set out so capably, I thought, and in such a balanced way by our city manager this morning, and those are the realities we face. And they're not realities that see us awash in a lot of money by any means. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, we have this problem and we have to have an urgent discussion on how to deal with it, and then turn around and say, but we have endless sums to deal with any matter at all, whether it's our employees or anybody else. I want to just finish in the 1 minute I have left by just pointing out one of the reasons I'm also proud of this budget is the very, very significant investments that it is making in this city. You know, people diminish these because it's either not everything they want or it's not as much as they think it should be, and I respect the fact they can have that opinion. But we invested $95 million in transit last year, and some of that money is only just now showing itself. We just announced, and they haven't even started running yet, express bus routes in different parts of the city. The new buses haven't arrived yet. The new trains are on the tracks and are helping with what is still an overcrowded situation on the subway. We have new service that did start on January the 3rd, financed by this budget to allow 1 more hour of service. And I've had many people come and tell me it's making a difference in their lives, and I hope to do another hour after that. We've got new money being invested in streetcar reliability. We have $100 million, you heard the numbers from the city staff, not me, being invested in overall poverty reduction measures. And I'm proud of that because you know what? That transit service that's been restored had been cut by my predecessor. Those anti-poverty investments that are being made were not being made before, by and large. Some of them were some of the nutrition funding had started. And then there's housing, where we're also making very significant investments. And we are doing that at the same time as we're able to look the taxpayers in the eye and say that we're keeping their property tax increase to 1.3%, thus, in my view, preventing some people from ending up in a situation where we have to help them because they're forced out of their houses by the fact they can't afford to pay their property taxes anymore, people on limited incomes and pensions and so on. So I'm proud of that kind of a balance to the budget. I would urge you to support these motions, including in particular the one that will go forward to Council authorizing the creation of the City Building Fund and the levy that goes with it, as well as the money for the refugees, which I think is something we'll be very proud of in years to go forward. I think I'm already very proud of us as a city and how we've responded, but we'll be very proud of the result of this 10 years from now when we see what those people are contributing to our well-being. Thank you very much.